For 3 relentless weeks, Aaron Cole lived as if time itself had turned against him, stretching days thin and compressing nights into fragments so small they barely counted as rest, all because Mira Vale, the billionaire CEO whose name alone made investors straighten their backs, kept assigning urgent tasks that somehow always arrived just as he was packing up to go home. Aaron was a single dad who measured his life in school pickup times, inhaler refills, and whether his 7-year-old son Noah smiled when he walked through the door, and lately those smiles had been replaced by sleepy nods and whispered, "You're late again, Dad." He worked in data operations, a job he was grateful for after his wife's death left him scrambling to rebuild a life with one income and a fragile child, but gratitude didn't soften the ache in his bones as he stared at glowing screens long after the city outside the office windows went dark. Myra's emails were always precise, polite, and devastating, requests for revised projections, new dashboards, deeper analyses, sent at hours that suggested she either never slept or didn't believe anyone else needed to. Aaron never complained. He couldn't afford to. Noah's asthma medication alone ate into his savings, and the thought of unemployment terrified him more than exhaustion ever could. So he learned to nap in his chair, to brew coffee strong enough to make his hands shake, to smile through video calls while hiding the tremor in his voice. He learned the rhythms of the building at night, the way the security guards made their rounds, the hum of the HVAC system, the lonely echo of his footsteps in hallways meant for hundreds. Sometimes, as he waited for another file to upload at 2 a.m, he wondered if Mira Vale even knew his name or if he was just another resource to be optimized, another line item to squeeze until it produced more. At home, Noah waited up with a book he pretended to read, his inhaler always within reach, and Aaron hated himself every time he whispered apologies and tucked him in long after bedtime. By the 21st night, Aaron felt hollowed out, running on nothing but habit and fear, and when he finally shut down his laptop at home just before midnight, the knock at the door startled him so badly his heart slammed against his ribs. It was soft at first, then firmer, deliberate, and when he opened the door, the flickering hallway light revealed Mira Vale herself, barefoot in one hand, heels dangling from the other, hair loose around her shoulders, eyes tired in a way no press photo had ever shown, holding a paper bag that smelled of fresh bread and something warmer, heavier, regret. Part 2. She stood there for a moment without crossing the threshold, as if unsure whether she was allowed inside a life she'd been intruding on from a distance, and when she spoke, her voice was quieter than he'd ever heard it, asking if she could come in, asking if it was a bad time, asking things she never asked at work. Aaron stepped aside, too stunned to refuse, and Mira glanced around the small apartment, at the scattered toys, the medication on the counter, the couch that doubled as Aaron's bed on nights he was too tired to climb the stairs. She explained, haltingly at first, that she'd noticed patterns, his login times, the pharmacy reimbursements flagged by HR, the calendar blocks marked school pickup, and that she'd pushed him anyway, not because she didn't care, but because caring terrified her. She told him about her own childhood, about nights spent waiting for her father to come home from his second job, about learning early that money could solve problems but only after it had created others, about building an empire on the belief that relentless pressure was the only way to survive. The bread, she said, was for Noah. She'd stopped at a bakery because she didn't know what else to bring when an apology felt too small. From her bag, she pulled an envelope containing a revised contract, reasonable hours, a significant raise, flexible work, full pediatric healthcare coverage, and slid it across the table not as a negotiation, but as restitution. Aaron felt something inside him crack when she knelt down as Noah appeared at the stairs, rubbing sleep from his eyes, and apologized to him directly, promising she would never again take his father's nights for granted. Noah nodded solemnly, clutching his inhaler, and Aaron realized that for the first time in weeks, he could breathe. Mira left before dawn, shoes back on, posture straighter but eyes softer, and as the door closed behind her, the apartment felt different, lighter, like a storm had passed. Aaron logged off early the next day, made pancakes with Noah as sunlight filled the kitchen, and understood that power, when it finally learned to listen, could also learn how to knock, and wait.